There is no future for people who deny their past. My foreparents, my grandparents.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, your ultimate destination for urban culture, community vibes, and live conversations with the movers and shakers of the streets. Join us as we explore the rhythm of the one beat at a time. Let's get the show started. Turn up the volume, sit back and relax, and welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, hosted by Turbo, the CEO, and follow us on all social media platforms.
You're listening to the Final Boss Podcast.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, Tuesday night edition. We have a great show for you. Joining me tonight, as always, on every Tuesday, is our great technology correspondent, The Sensei, Big Mike. Let's give him a hand. He's always dropping gems every Tuesday right here on the Final Boss Podcast. Listen, tonight we have episode number 94. Yeah. Episode number 94, man. It's crazy. Clap for that. This journey, man, is amazing. Listen, let's start off with the greeting. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. To all the Final Bosses around the world, to all the smarts around the world, we welcome you to tonight's episode of the Final Boss Podcast, episode number 94. A few admin notes I need to get out to the good people. One, make sure you are checking out the merch site. Go get some merch at thefinalbosspodcast.com. One word, thefinalbosspodcast.com. One word. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. Send us your feedback at our all our social media, or shoot us an email at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. Shoot us an email at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. We really and greatly appreciate all of your support, and we love to hear from you. So send us all of the emails. Send us all the questions. If you want to join in any of the conversations, please do so. As always, we like to start the night with our brass tacks. And our brass tacks tonight comes from Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. And it is as follows. The greatest achievement of technology is not how it changes life, but how it improves it. The greatest achievement of technology is not how it changes life, but how it improves it. That comes from Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. Hope I didn't jack her name up too bad. And tonight's episode number 94, we are going with 6G and 6G technologies. Yeah, that 5G stuff is old. We're moving on. We're advancing. 6G is here. We're going to talk about it. But man, we are going to talk about it in the most elegant way that you can understand, because that's what we do. So it might be a heavy hitter, but here is where you find comfort at the Final Boss Podcast. We're going to jump right into the topic, and it may change your life in ways that you don't even understand, because 6G is coming. Big Mike.
It's heavy.
You have the floor, my man.
So
talk to us.
Let's just jump right back in. We'll jump right in. So back in the day, we had the old analog cell service, and then we jumped up and got this 4G LTE and 4G, and we said, hey, that's pretty fast. We like that. That's good. And then what happened is, do you remember when the televisions were on analog and you could have an antenna out of your house and get your TV signal? That was analog.
Yeah.
Right. There's a spectrum of bandwidth of the radio frequency waves that are available. And analog TV was taking up a big chunk of that. So what occurred is that the analog signals got deprecated. I mean, they stopped sending out analog TV and had to start sending out digital signals. So you had to get a different kind of antenna to get local stations or have a digital subscription. That signal bandwidth that became available is what they were going to use for 5G. Okay. And everybody hears and says, oh, yeah, I got 5G on my phone. Well, sort of. Because true 5G is super short distance, has to have a lot of antennas, and is a very, very high bandwidth type of radio signal.
Right.
Very, very, very fast, but still requires a short distances. So if you're in an area where they put up 5G, even though everybody claims they have true 5G, do your homework, look up the difference between 4G, LTE, and 5G, and ask the question, do I really have 5G? Because 5G is pretty intense. And that's a whole nother subject about the intensity of the radio frequency amount of signal that's allowed to happen in the United States versus Europe. Right. What they consider dangerous to the human body, we are allowed to have 10 times the amount of signal in the United States. That's something to go check out sometime, is radio frequencies and what's considered in Europe safe signal strength versus United States. That's just 4G and 5G. And 5G is supposed to be quick. So this is going to completely change when we go to 6G. Because if you want to think that 5G is the appetizer and 6G is the full course meal with dessert, surveillance, social scores baked in, If you think it's fast and freaky, wait till 6G shows up in your pocket and your brain.
Right. That full course meal sounds quite appetizing. Is it a steak?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
7-course meal.
Hey, I'm all for it. Let's go.
So, in plain language, imagine downloading an entire season of your favorite TV show in the blink of an eye, the whole season. Now, we talk about speeds, and right now we talk about gigabits, bits versus bytes. And if you ever take any computer course, you understand the difference.
Absolutely.
There's the MB with the little b and the capital M, capital B with the big B. When we start talking about transmitting data, we talk about the little b. So it's bits. So we're talking 1 terabit per second speeds, 100 times faster than 5G.
Wow.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's not about the speed. It's about connecting everything. From your refrigerator to your brain implant. You heard me? To your brain implant.
It's called that. Yeah, brain implant. Yeah. The Internet of Everything, the IOE.
IOE. Internet of everything. Not IoT, Internet of Things. It's IOE.
Including you. You're part of that system. Now, wait a minute. I got to throw a flag on the play. 100 times faster than 5G? Man, that's
Contest.
crazy.
Right. But it's not just the speed. Like I said, it's not speed. It's the methodology and how it
It's
connects.
the methodology, right? That's wow.
So
Man, that's
have you
sophisticated.
we've seen sci-fi where you watch in Star Wars and you watch them
Mhm.
have a hologram pop up and they see the person, they have a conversation with the hologram.
Correct.
This is what we're talking about. We're talking 6G is going to enable real-time holograms. AR, artificial reality, and VR, virtual reality, that feels real.
Right.
Now, in the medical field, you can
Okay.
have remote operated surgeries with no lag. And
That's
AI
crazy.
decisions that can AI systems that can make decisions on the fly everywhere all the time.
Mm.
Full integration.
That's pretty impressive.
And speed is the delimiting factor, because if I'm talking to you in the same room, I don't have any echo. There's no lag. You hear me right away. If I'm across the room, I have to yell a little bit for you to hear me, especially if the TV's playing, right?
Right.
Now imagine you're across the house. That's
Mhm.
echo. That's delay. Now, if I'm inside the house talking to you and you're outside in the backyard, I got to yell out for you to hear me, right?
Right.
Now you're across the street. You see how the further away you get, the more lag time
Lag
becomes a
time.
problem.
Yeah.
The echo becomes the
Mhm.
problem. It takes too long for the signal to get from point A to point B. So it's
Right.
not efficient. So with 6G, you just pretty much are eliminating that. There's no lag. The speed is so rapid and so encompassing that you don't have a lag. It's just
Wow.
instantaneous anywhere.
And,
So that's
and
just
they're running it on what is the
radio frequencies.
as radio frequencies? Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. So let's talk about global. Who is the head? And thank you for that information, man. You know, we like to tie in technologies from around the world. So my question, as it relates to the global technology domain, who's ahead right now in the 6G game? Who's ahead right now?
Well, we know it's not us.
Okay.
So right now, South Korea, they've already launched a 6G pilot in Seoul.
Mm.
China, listen to this one. China set up a 6G satellite back in 2020.
Wow.
Before people
You
had
know,
5G, they were
Mm.
setting up and testing 6G.
I had stated and posted not too long ago that China had released 10G. I got that from an article in China, but we can elaborate on that at another time. But that's amazing. 6G in 2020. Yeah, they're
Mhm.
definitely ahead of the game.
Finland,
Yeah.
Japan,
Mm-hmm.
Nokia, and NTT are both developing 6G hardware right now. They're developing hardware for it.
Okay.
Now, in the United States, AT&T, Verizon, and Department of Defense are all working behind the scenes, mostly for military and critical infrastructure, not for home use.
Okay.
This is for infrastructure, it's for behind the scenes, so that they can have a stronger backbone.
Right. Before it
That's
gets
where
to
the
us.
that's where
Mhm.
the infrastructure is happening right now. This is where the build is happening.
Right.
It's not consumer 6G at your doorstep that's happening. It's the behind the scenes infrastructure, because that infrastructure has to be built first. For example, look, if I put up a whole bunch of apartment buildings in a neighborhood, I better have some good roads, right?
Right. Is this
The
something
roads
that's
aren't.
more advanced than fiber or
It's a different type of connectivity.
okay?
Fiber, you have to manually run fiber everywhere.
Right.
Imagine I could put up an antenna and just broadcast. I can reach everywhere,
Right.
not just where the fiber goes.
Mm-hmm.
Huge difference. Huge difference. But again, like I told you with 5G, what's the biggest limiting factor? It is the exposure with those antennas as to where can they broadcast and where can they reach. Because
Right.
they're a very, very ultra high frequency. Therefore, anything can interrupt the frequency.
Ultra high. Okay.
Ultra high frequency, low frequency. Back in the day, we had 2.4 gigahertz, and it was 802.11b, and it was good because it could go a long distance and not a lot interfered with it. And then we went to 5 gigahertz, and we had to be careful about our distance because anything that got in the way would interfere with the signal because of the faster signal. So what we did is, instead of us having one access point or one antenna, we will put up many and do what's called a mesh system.
Okay.
I run a mesh system. I run a 4 satellite mesh system because my house is made with stucco, which is wire mesh. So I have pretty much, in effect, a Faraday cage around my house. So in order for me to get Wi-Fi signal, I have to have all over the place little satellites, and that makes a mesh system. That's what we use nowadays to compensate for the higher bandwidth. That way we can still get the speed and still get we reduce the distance by having multiple access points, but they all tie together as one. So instead of me having to sign into access point A and then go to access point B, I can just sign in one time to the mesh, and now I'm signed into everything.
Nice.
So that's how we do it right now. That's how we talk to our hardware right now.
Mm-hmm. So early adapters will likely be urban centers. Thinking NYC, Tokyo, Shanghai, Helsinki, Seoul, not small town America.
Oh no, small town America is the last place, right? Because the cost to deploy this is going to be so great that they're going to put it where there's a high saturation of people. The first place you're going to see it would be in airports.
Oh, okay.
Because you have a lot of people,
right?
And that's where I first got 5G, was in an airport.
Okay.
Because I'm an early adopter when it comes to that kind of stuff. I had the first person in Spokane to have a 4G phone, and Verizon didn't even know what to do to turn it on because it wasn't even live yet. And they said that 4G was going to go live in June, and I had 4G in April because I had it live before they even said it was going live, because they were making it, they were testing it.
They were testing it, right?
Right. So I had 4G when 4G first came out, and then the same thing happened with 5G. I got one of the first 5G phones and had 5G.
I wonder what the 6G phones will look like. That's going to
be interesting.
Pretty interesting.
You might not need a phone.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Mark Zuckerberg said they're trying to get away from the cell phone. So what's next?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
What happens is the tech gap can widen even more. So the haves and the have-nots is what you're going to start to see. Right now, we have tech, and we try and put it out across everywhere.
Right.
You'll end up having more of a tech gap. You'll have tech centers that are high speed and tech centers, and then the outlying areas are going to be left behind.
Got it.
And it's just economics.
Yeah.
It's how many square miles can you cover with the hardware.
So let's paint a picture. Let's paint a picture. In your opinion, what will 6G look like in real life?
Well, the first place we're going to notice it, and that we're going to see a big push for, is in healthcare. Right? Imagine remote robotic surgery. So you have a doctor who's sitting over here in LA, and he's remotely operating on patients in Kenya. Doesn't have to travel to Kenya to do a surgery. They can set up the robot. He can run the robot remotely. From anywhere around the world. Yeah, because it's zero latency, zero lag time. So that's pretty impressive, right?
That is impressive.
Talk about, you can have life-saving surgeries that you can do anywhere. You don't have to take that person who's too ill to travel and ship them across the world to have a life-saving surgery. They can have the surgery wherever they are. Yeah. You can have a pod show up with the equipment, and boom, they set up in a surgical room and do the surgery and then pack it back up and ship it. Man. They don't have to leave the equipment there. Imagine that. A remote doctor that shows up and he connects to it and it does the surgery.
Right then and there. At that time. Right
at that
then and
time.
there.
Right
Wow.
then and there.
Wow.
Think about the next one, education.
Mm-hmm.
Holographic teachers. Holographic.
What's that going to do? How's that going to affect the classroom? Kids wouldn't have to
Well,
go to school anymore.
You can have full sensory simulations.
Mm.
You can do biology class inside of a digital human body.
Wow.
Yeah, we're talking wow.
We talk Star Trek.
We're talking better than Star Trek. I mean, think about retail. Virtual try-on. You want to try on what scent and texture feedback, so you can get immersed into a virtual, and you can know, oh, how does this outfit look on me? You can virtually try it on. And you can virtually try on that perfume and see how you think that it's going to smell with you.
You're talking about a four-dimensional type of
so it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, that's
scent
crazy.
and texture feedback.
Wow.
Now let's go one step further. Of course, those are the nice things we talk about. Let's talk about policing and surveillance. Real-time facial recognition, synced across global networks.
Yeah.
No hiding if you're a bad guy.
Minority Report.
Minority Report. How about look at work? Your AI managers analyzing your tone of voice, your mood, and your productivity in real time. They can tell based on your tone of voice how you feel. And we'll probably be able to tell if you're lying to them or not.
Well, I'm glad I work for myself. Man, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Because you have to understand, in order for this type of stuff to work, you have to have the technology, the hardware to support the backbone to make it work.
Right.
So do you remember, again, we've talked about this in the past many times as an example. Follow the template. If I can follow the template, then the template then gets moved forward. So remember back in the day, we first had Dragon Naturally Speaking.
Right.
You talk to your computer and it creates commands or types text. The problem was the computers were too slow and they couldn't handle it. So therefore, Dragon was not that good. But then the hardware caught up and got better and better and better and faster. Now, when you go to a doctor's visit, they use it called DAX, and it does Dragon combined with this AI-enabled voice recognition analysis and analyzes the entire conversation in the room, breaks it down into who said what, and creates medical notes off of it. So that's because the hardware caught up with the software. The idea of the software and the hardware finally caught up. Now, imagine if you've got the hardware and you've got the software, but you need to have it not be in one spot. It needs to go further away from where the hardware is, or further away from where the software is. So if I'm managing the software in point A, I don't have to be in point A to see the hardware. I can be across the world and have instantaneous communication. Fast.
Communication. Right.
So it's the backbone. We're talking the backbone of this whole thing, which is what makes it sound, so amazing. Because now imagine you have an information superhighway right outside your door. And in one step further, not outside your door, inside your house.
Right. Traveling
and
at
not
light
just
speed.
inside your house, potentially inside you.
Correct. Well, man, that all sounds helpful. And as we know, there's always a flip side. It also sounds terrifying. So let's get real. We like to talk about ethics. What are the ethical risks, if there are any? I know they are. So let's talk about it.
So, the ethical considerations are huge. We talk about ethical considerations when we talk about AI. We've already been talking about it a lot. So this makes for surveillance, mass surveillance, seamless.
Yeah.
You watch on TV where you see the hackers who can access anything, anytime, anywhere to get what they want. Have you seen that? Did you ever see the new movie, The Accountant 2?
No, I haven't seen Accountant 2. It's on my
Just
list.
watch that one. I'm not going to do a spoiler alert for it, but it's an example of that kind of stuff. So what happens is 6G makes mass surveillance seamless. Cameras, wearables, and sensors will be everywhere because it'll all tie together. It's called digital control. Now, what happens when we combine 6G with AI?
I'm logging off. Where's my control? Alt delete. That's what I'm doing. That's
Well,
that.
You're going to get what's called
It's
total
too late.
behavior.
I know.
You're going to get what's called total behavior monitoring. Health, higher frequencies equal unknown long-term exposure effects. So we've talked about, remember back in the day, you said, hey, be careful with your cell phone. Don't put it near your crotch because you'll be sterile. Don't wear it next to your head because you get brain cancer. All these things, right? So high frequencies, because this is what's going to happen, high frequencies. So we don't know what the long-term exposure effects are.
Wow.
So now the next part about it is your privacy.
We already don't have any privacy.
Right. Data isn't just about location anymore. It's about emotion, intention, brain wave patterns.
Right. Wait, hold up.
Yeah, Minority Report. Brain wave patterns. The prediction that you are going to create perform a crime before you create the crime. It's coming. Social credit systems. Now, this is a thing I don't like to talk about because it's a dirty word. You have a diesel truck because you haul trailers and stuff, and that's what you need, a diesel truck. Or you want a diesel truck. I don't care why you have a diesel truck. It's a diesel truck. So what? Well, if you're using social credit systems, what's going to happen when you go to the gas station and try and buy diesel and says, oh, I'm sorry, you bought 100 gallons of diesel this month. You're not allowed to get any more because you're polluting the environment. So now you're traveling and you get halfway to where you got to go and you're not allowed to buy diesel. That's a social credit system. It's already been piloted in China.
Yeah.
The thing is about the social credit system is that we've talked about, the hard part is how do you make it enforceable? How do you make it so that it's real? Well, 6G is going to enable it. It's going to be the mechanics behind it which make it that it becomes viable and real. So
if we go digital currency, it's
right
it's
there.
It's going to be very easy. It's right there.
Now I'm right. So it's all real time. There's no more lagging anymore. Everything's going to be instantaneous. Everything's going to be instantaneous.
Man, this new technology can either be liberation or 1984
or lockdown, and that depends on who controls it. Right? It's all about who controls the network, who's in charge. This is why open source, decentralization, and civil resistance. And I'm not talking about the stuff you see on the TV.
Right.
I'm talking about doing your part as a proper, civilly educated citizen of the country, where you talk to your elected representatives and explain to them, hey, I'm aware of these things. You should be aware of these things. I'm concerned about our privacy. I want you to know that I'm concerned about our privacy. And so your elected officials at all levels need to know what's coming and why. And they need to understand, hey, this matters to us. So be aware of it so that we're not caught with our pants down. I know the arms race is going on right now. The AI arms race is going on. So it's the wild, wild west. Imagine how you combine, as much as we've said that AI is going to change the world, imagine you combine it with now the hardware to have instantaneous connection to everything.
One of our users, Molly, she just mentioned a movie that I'm going to have to go rewatch in its entirety in this moment. She mentioned Demolition Man.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. They had a lot of advanced technologies in that movie, like Minority Report, that we are actually starting to see in our time right now.
And Minority Report, it was based upon the twins, right? That's what it was
Right.
based upon. Now
Mhm.
imagine you replace the twins
With AI. Right.
There you are. It's not a machine.
Mm.
It's an entity. Because
Exactly.
AI,
Yeah.
once it reaches AGI, it's going to not be a machine anymore. It's going to become a presence.
Mm.
It's going to become an entity. Pretty wild.
Scary stuff. You know, you talked. We always talk about post physical era, and what do you think that would mean in the 6G world?
Listen to this. Now, you're over there where you are. I'm over where I am. Imagine my human interaction with you. Instead of us shaking hands, I can send haptic feedback. I can send feedback that you feel like I'm shaking your hand. And I'm all the way across the country.
Wow.
We beam, instead of talking, we can beam our thoughts. So 6G lays the groundwork for brain-computer interfaces.
Oh man,
You'll have
telepathy, basically.
digital twins. And what about consciousness upload? Remember now,
Oh yeah,
if speed is not an issue anymore,
true.
okay, speed is no longer an issue. You might be able to upload your entire consciousness.
There are companies working on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does their body become at that point?
Well, from what I read, they have mapped the entire planet into a digital space and uploading your conscious to an avatar in that digital space, and basically saying that you will be able to live for eternity. I guess is that's the goal that they're going after.
We've made movies. The movies have been made about that already.
True.
Movies have been made about it.
Yeah.
Absolute virtual reality.
Mm.
So what happens is our bodies become hardware, because who you are can be moved from place to place.
Right. But wouldn't that make us legacy hardware if we're
Absolutely.
moving that fast?
We can become outdated.
We become outdated. Man.
Look at the Matrix. What do you become? An energy source.
Energy source.
Where does your consciousness live? In the Matrix.
In the virtual. Yeah.
In the virtual. It's called transhumanism by infrastructure. Because if the structure is there to handle it, it can happen. If the structure is there, again, I'm going to explain it. If you build an apartment complex in the middle of the country and there's no roads, it doesn't work real well. But if I build an apartment complex and I got big, wide open roads, lots of room for parking, and a grocery store nearby, I have a community. And when you see apartment complexes going up, what do you tend to see? The gas stations, the convenience stores, the grocery stores, maybe the shopping mall, or other kinds of stores around. Okay,
they have a new name
what's going
for
to
that.
happen? You're going to see that. That's the subdivision world, right? So imagine you can take that same template and apply that same template. You build the infrastructure, or you build it and they will come. They said that in the Field of Dreams. Why are you building a baseball diamond? Because if I build it, they will come.
Yep, they sure did. I was reading on something they're calling 15-minute communities, where
everything you need whole life is in 15 minutes.
In 15 minutes. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see the advent or smart cities.
Yeah, smart cities too.
The entire city is going to be tied in. Everything can be tracked, monitored.
So how much time do you think before all this goes live and rolls out? What are we looking at? What's the regulatory frameworks and convergence on that?
So right now to next year, we're in 2025. Now to next year, we have research going on. Satellites are going up to support it, and we have spectrum auctions. Remember, we talked about the bandwidth that's going to be required to make things happen. Well, that's going to be purchased. People are going to, and companies are going to be buying segments of bandwidth that are going to be dedicated for their traffic. So 2028, this is where we're going to 2030. So how many years is that? 2028. We're at 2025 now, right?
Right.
So we're going to have early rollouts in smart cities. Then once it starts to get in smart cities, what's the next step? Just like when we had internet, where was it at first?
It was in the major cities first.
And then it rolled out.
Right.
And how many communities right now out there that are country communities that now have fiber optic?
That's a great question.
It's going everywhere.
It's gone everywhere now. Yeah.
So now you got places that never could have gotten internet now have fiber to the door. So what's going to happen is by 2035, mass adoption. And this is where it gets interesting. Because it's one thing if it's in a small segmented or tiny area, you can't really force anything when it's in a tiny area. But once you could do mass rollout, mass adoption, now you can have regulatory frameworks will be in place. And this is where the AI converges with the hardware. So not very many years, huh?
Sounds 3 to 5 to me.
3 to 5.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. Smarts, listen. Smarts Final Bosses, you guys go do your research. The rollout is coming. You're going to start hearing about it more and more, just like we started hearing about 5G when 5G came, and
it's happening faster now than it happened before.
Absolutely.
They talk about 5G for years.
They sure did. 6G would be here and while you wash your dishes in your kitchen.
We didn't even really jump deep into some of the other pieces it can do.
Okay.
We haven't even begun.
Well, let's get into it. We got a lot of time.
We got time.
Yes, we do.
So we know we're going to have to do at the end. We'll talk about what to do to get ready for it. But let's talk about some of the nuances of the physical world, of how our world around us is going to change.
All right. Okay.
So again, full 3D holograms, no headset. You're going to make a phone call to somebody, or we're going to not even be a phone call anymore. You can call a holo call or whatever they're going to call it. Someone's going to term a new term and it's going to work.
All right.
No headsets needed. Just boom. Okay. Now you have real-time meetings, remote design collaboration. You guys you're scanning right next to each other.
Yeah.
Holograms. Your digital person is there. A new meaning to remote work. Whole new meaning. But the thing that's going to happen, I think that's going to be a big piece of this puzzle. And they began it with the Tesla with the Neuralink. And there's other devices. It's called BCI.
Okay. What's that?
Brain computer interface.
Ooh. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I was watching the legacy movie Total Recall over the weekend.
Yep.
And a lot of the technologies that are starting to see, the possibility of being able to upload and destination is here.
Correct. Now, remember we talked about during that movie, what did they use to get it done? The optic nerve.
Right.
Because the optic
They should make-
nerve
Mhm.
has the largest amount of data can be transmitted through the optic nerve. But now, what happens if you don't need that? You see, what happens if it's one step higher? You're going to have haptic feedback devices. These are gloves, suits, pads to simulate touch, texture, and pressure.
Right.
Virtual shopping, etc., remote surgery, gaming. Gaming's going to be huge. They already have VR headsets. Imagine now you can wear a suit that you feel what's going on in the game. That's what's coming. Ultra responsive sensory feedback over long distances. That's what's going to happen. Now, another thing that's going to be very interesting, and I find this going to be the most fascinating, is your advanced AR glasses or contact lenses. Wearables that overlay digital information into the real world. So you're going to remember the one movie, what was his name? Was it Ryan Reynolds? I don't remember what it was. It was the one where he was in the digital world and he put the glasses on. He had all the stuff available to him.
Yes.
And he fought the digital avatar of himself.
Right. I can't remember the name of that movie.
But that movie,
exactly. Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. Well, imagine that in the world, you can put on a pair of glasses. Now you have access to all that information and intel. It's all right there. So it's going to be good for navigation. You're driving down the road. Instead of you having to look down at your phone, it's going to be right in front of your eyeballs.
Right in front of you. Mm-hmm.
Where to go. Real-time translation. You don't have to have another language. You can speak your language, and the other person's going to be able to hear in their language. Real-time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Facial recognition, that's going to happen immediately.
Of course.
Your
taxi
that's
probably
driver,
first.
You don't even need to worry about Uber drivers anymore because they already got the self-driving cars.
Yeah.
They're already all over the place. So what about implantable or subdermal devices, implantable devices? This is where we're talking about chips or sensors placed under the skin or within the body. So you say, well, what about that? Well, the first place that is going to work wonderfully is going to be for diabetics, right?
Be able to control your,
health tracking.
Yeah.
Real-time biometric data sharing.
Okay.
Right? You have a problem where you have a blood condition. You have a chip that's going to be able to be implanted under your skin that can real-time monitor. So that way your doses of the meds you have to get could be absolutely accurate. No mistakes. See, that can change or revolutionize that.
Absolutely.
How about drone control? Want to run some drones? Not going to need to have a controller anymore.
Control it from here.
Yep. You're going to have remote airplanes or aircraft. They've already talked about having fighter aircraft that don't need pilots anymore.
Yeah. That conversation's been going on for some time now.
Yeah, it's been happening for a long time. This is not anything new.
Yeah.
You know, that the simulation's already been done where the fighter pilots went ahead and went out there and had a virtual dogfight, and lost every time. Let's say you got a pacemaker. Pacemaker now is going to be able to transmit. It does right now, as we speak, uploads constantly. Right now, if you got a pacemaker, a new pacemaker, they now have the ability to upload all your information at all times for remote monitoring. You don't have the old school pacemaker that you just get it and then you got to go get looked at once in a while. No, this thing's live, man. It's in your body and it's fully functional 24/7, reporting everything about your heart. I mean, that's real.
Yeah. Like some of these advanced smartwatches too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Smartwatches, right? How about multimodal voice and emotion interfaces? You say, what is that? Voice-driven interfaces also interpret tone, mood, and stress. So your psychiatrist is going to have this and going to be able to immediately know what's going on with you.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, last thing I was talking about, that pacemaker, they can tell if you're having a heart attack instantly. They can already deploy either the shock remotely to zap you, or they can have 911 already on the way. Pretty impressive.
Super.
But what about
Yeah.
that voice-driven interfaces?
Absolutely.
That's going to be crazy, isn't it? It's going to interpret your tone. Customer service bots, they're going to be able to know how you're feeling, your mental health checks. You're not going to have to check into a mental health person anymore. You're going to have an AI that knows you better than you know yourself. And the 6G's role is rapid analysis of emotional context in real time. So the AI can translate the data, but it has to get the data to translate, right?
Right.
So the interface of 6G is going to make it so that it's instantaneous, that the AI now has instantaneous your information as it's happening live.
I think there was another movie.
It can probably know if you're upset before you know that you're upset.
Right. Asking you questions. Are you okay? You need to calm down.
It's already going to know. So now we talk about smart environment interfaces. There's another thing that physically is going to happen. Rooms, furniture, objects that respond to your presence, gestures, voice. And this is going to be used in home automation, which already when you walk into a building, the lights turn on automatically, right? Imagine now you walk into the building and the room already can sense your body temperature and what's going to be optimum temperature for you in that area.
Wow.
Remotely sense it. Elderly care. How about elderly care where you got your folks that need to have somebody monitoring them 24/7? This gives the ability of the backbone. And it's all about the backbone. If it has the ability to transmit the data, it can analyze the data if we give it to it.
Man. And I can see exactly how this could play into having a Minority Report type system, because if surveillance is all time, every time, individuals who, before they start or begin to commit a crime,
absolutely,
it knows what you're about to do.
It knows. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah,
your environment.
Why are you grabbing that gun? What are you doing with that gun? Why are you grabbing that gun?
We already know what you're going to do with that gun because you already told us. Your emotions already told us what you're going to do with that gun. You're
exactly.
Yeah. Your environment becomes an interface. So there's a number of companies doing this stuff right now. They're the top companies, top BCI companies right now. Neuralink in the United States. That's Musk's company, right? They've already done human trials.
How long have they been doing human trials for?
They got a guy in Yuma, Arizona who has no use of anything, and he plays games with his brain.
Yeah, I read about him.
Yep. Focus on treating paralysis, blindness, and eventually enabling symbiosis with AI. So, for example, let's say you've got your spinal cord is cut and you have no ability to tap into the bottom part of your body. With this technology, what's going to happen, they're going to be able to link the bottom part of your body and all of its signal back up to the top and make a virtual bridge between the two.
Wow.
Reconnecting virtually your spinal cord. This is coming. So there's another one here in USA and Australia. It's called Synchron, Synchron. Watch that one. Minimally invasive brain implants, no skull drilling. It's a neuro interface implanted via blood vessels.
Wow.
Remember the movie we watched, Avatar, and what did they have? The tail, right?
Yeah.
Represents the interface.
Right.
It's a neuro interface implanted via blood cells. FDA approved already for human trials in the United States. It's considered one of Neuralink's top competitors. Check it out. The communication is for ALS and locked-in patients. This is for people who have ALS and they can't communicate. They think, but they can't get it out.
Right.
Allow them. So that's where they're working on that one. There's another one here. It's called BlackRock Neurotech. Oh, we don't know the name of that company. Their goal is for medical BCIs for restoring movement and communication. It's a high-density electrode arrays surgically implanted in the brain. Now listen to this. Human implants since the early 2000s have already been happening. Focus on clinical and research applications. So now you got 25 years of them already doing this stuff. This is not new. This has already been around. There's another one called Precision Neuroscience, co-founded by Neuralink. The co-founder of Neuralink, Benjamin Rappaport, they want to have a safer removable. They want to still be able to unplug you.
Okay.
So not just get you plugged in permanently, but they want to unplug you.
Unplug you.
Tech
Mhm.
is a thin film-like electrodes placed on the brain's surface. Early trials, they want to do less invasive procedures than Neuralink. They don't want to be tapping in your brain material. They want to be able to give you a jack to plug in and unplug. So you can be plugged in or you can be unplugged. That's kind of cool. They got one
That's
called
kinda
Kernel. It's the United States, Kernel. Guy's name is Brian Johnson.
Mm.
Non-invasive brain monitoring for cognitive enhancement and research. It's a helmet-like style wearable called a Kernel Flow. It's a helmet.
Okay.
Measure brain activity in real time, no surgery required. So it can map your brain activity. There's two more I'm going to talk about. One's called Next Mind. Visual cortex interface. Visual cortex. What's that?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Wearable EEG device that allows user control interfaces using thought. Augmented reality and gaming. Now, the development paused.
Cool. Right.
Post-acquisition. So they got acquired by a company called Snap. So we're going to see where that all goes in the next couple of years. But that is still, holy good Lord. Wear a helmet, a goggle, and now it has interface directly to your brain through your eyes. There's one called Corticare, NeuroPace, and others in the United States, medical grade monitoring and seizure intervention. EEG-based or implanted devices, epilepsy treatment, neuromonitoring, and clinical settings. That's where this is happening. So who supports this stuff? Intel, IBM, and NVIDIA? You know about NVIDIA.
Yeah.
They're like the chip manufacturers. Oh, boy. Right? They are doing the processors. They're creating the physical hardware that's going to do this stuff. Meta and Apple, they want to do AR, VR platforms, man. They want to be into that world. They want to be virtual reality all the time. That's where they want to be.
Okay.
DARPA, that's your U.S. Department of Defense. They want it for advanced BCIs for military applications.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. A lot. Development is happening like, oh my. Oh my.
Wow.
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a trip, man. That's a real trip. We're going from quantum speeds to brain sinks and ethical black holes, 6G.
In a matter of less than a year.
Yeah. Wow. It's just in a tech upgrade. This is a civilization reboot. This is exactly what we're talking about.
This is going to be the Industrial Revolution on steroids.
Yeah.
It's going to make the Industrial Revolution look like cakewalk.
Man.
This is the new Industrial Revolution, and it's happening as we sit here in front of our eyes.
That is incredible. Thank you for sharing that information, man. And to my smarts and to my final bosses, if you guys are investors, man, there'd be a time to go look into some of those companies. They're on the forefront of the latest and greatest technologies when it comes to 6G, chips, chipsets, Department of Defense, education, medical. We talked about everything. Here is where it's all there. It's all there. If you replay, rewatch, get the names of some of those companies, see where they are in the technology, see where they are when it comes to some investment principles, and look at all that stuff. Right now is the time. It's not tomorrow. Right now is the time. We're giving you the information. Take advantage. Use it. Right now is the time. That's what we're here to inform you guys of all this stuff on multiple layers. So check it out, man. Check it out. Let's give a hand to the sensei. Let's give a hand to the sensei, man. Man. I know earlier in the week when we had mentioned 6G, but all the different application and properties, I didn't expand on that idea. I knew of some things, but man, you gave me some foresight to look at it from a wide range of perspectives. So thank you for sharing that information, man. Thank you so much.
There's a lot of information. There's a lot happening.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
thing is, with today's world, we get so distracted by stupid things
Yeah,
that we don't pay attention to what's happening behind the scenes right underneath our feet.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, one of the most frightening things to our freedom, which is happening, is the onset of true digital currency. Now, don't get me wrong. Your credit cards are all digital right now anyway, so whatever. But what I'm getting at, you still have the option of spending dollar bills. When that finally gets taken away, that's going to be the most frightening thing, because at that point, that's where you know the control is already gone.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go to a yard sale and negotiate with somebody and buy a piece of yard furniture and Jew them down to $5 when they wanted 10, and then give them a $5 bill and you walk away with it. Because now what's going to happen is it's all digital currency. That entire transaction is going to be what? Monitored and taxed.
Yes, everything will be taxed.
Right. It'll all be taxed. It'll be a transaction fee that's going to be incorporated with it. And so the credit card companies charge on both sides. They charge a transaction fee for the people who are making the selling the item, and they also charge a interest to the people who are buying the item. So the credit card companies are making it on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, what's your current interest rates on a majority of credit cards? Anybody want to know? Anybody want to take a venture guess? Average credit card percentage in the United States? I wonder what that one is. Huh? I bet you're gonna get it wrong. What do you think?
Average, you said? Man. Let's I'm gonna say 11% average.
Oh no.
Don't say it's higher.
No.
No, don't say it's higher. Don't say it's higher. Not average?
Average. Median advertised 23.99%.
Jesus, that's almost a quarter on a dollar.
And many companies are closer to 30%.
Wow, man. Jeez.
So it's getting pretty wild out there. So imagine now you go to yard sale and you got to swipe a card at a yard sale and they get charged and you get charged. No more of the fun stuff. You want to tip somebody who does you a good service? You want to give them a $10 bill? That's not going to happen anymore.
And you know what? Like my business account, the tax will already be calculated.
Absolutely.
And it's starting the process to send over to IRS.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's about the taxes. You think tax, everybody thinks federal. It's not the federal that's the big tax guy. Yeah. It's your state, county, and city. Those are the ones that are going to get you. Those are the ones that get you good.
Wow.
But it's interesting. That's all I have to say about that. It's a very interesting time to be alive. So pay attention. Know where your data goes. Look what the Europeans are doing when it comes to data privacy. They got some really cool stuff in data privacy. If you want to do some research about how Europe is treating data privacy better than we are. But definitely check it out. Stay alert, stay alive, protect your brain. Know that wearable tech is going to invade your personal space. Not all smart devices are your friends.
As we always say, if it's free, then you're the product.
You're the product.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Sensei, and that is the conclusion of our show for episode number 94. But before we go, Sensei, you have any you want to close out with anything?
Stay alert, stay alive. The kids at 14 years old should already be looking at what kind of job they're going to have in the next 10 years. They need to already be researching that. Teach your children quietly, for someday sons and daughters will rise up and fight where we stood still. And if you don't know where they came from, go check it out.
That's a dope quote. The Sensei. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for tonight. Listen, be balanced, be equal, and be smart. And to everyone around the world, thank you for tuning in wherever you are around the world. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to all of our social media. Send us emails or feedback at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com, and check out the merch site at thefinalbosspodcast.com. That is our show. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us on this journey as we are here to not only better you, but better ourselves with the information that we are providing. Thank you. Be great. Talk to you soon. Good night.